The government may downgrade or close down institutions of higher learning that fail to live up to certain standards. That's at least according to a new draft definition policy of different types of tertiary institutions. For these universities to meet the standards, they must do a broad range of published research and must contribute to their local community. For more on this, let's bring in Dr. Linda Meyer, who's Director of Programs at University South Africa. Dr. Meyer joins us via our video link this morning. It's great to have you on the program as always. Dr. Linda, it's great to have you on the program. Indeed. Let me just begin by getting reaction from you about what we should read into these proposed policy changes. What's University South Africa's response to this?
We welcome the changes that are being proposed. This obviously is not a new set of proposals that are levelled. It's the same system that operates in the United Kingdom and in Canada. So clearly for us it will allow institutions to focus on what it is that they want to do, either their research agenda or teaching and learning.
The concerns, of course, is about those universities that are not able to live up to whatever standards are being proposed here, especially when you think about the implications for students that are enrolled there. Is that a concern you share?
Not necessarily. I think that our current public universities are well set up as research institutions, with more than 95% of their programs on the higher education qualifications framework. So we don't anticipate that any current universities will be affected. Of course, for the privates, what we will see is they're not allowed to use the word university or university college. So this will bring them into the fray where we can have specialized institutions that focus, as I said, on what it is that they really want to achieve, either professional programs, postgraduate programs, or being research intensive.
Help us understand the differences, at least insofar as policy is concerned, between a university and a university college.
So as the policy sets now, and obviously supported by the legislation, to become a university, you will first go into a candidacy phase as a university college. And you, as a university college, you need to have 85% of your programs within the higher education domain. You could obviously also offer qualifications under the qualifications framework for occupations at 15%. When you become a university, 95% of your programs have to be within higher education. But there's also a very strict requirement around research output. So if we look at a university, it's about the three key functions of a university is research, teaching and learning, and community engagement. And universities will have to be extensively involved in those activities within their communities and within the research agenda. Also for universities, they will have to have a very strong international link with international publishing happening, peer-reviewed articles. So really, if we look at our traditional universities, it is exactly the same as what they currently operate. But the university college will have some latitude to offer undergraduate programs, postgraduate, with some research, but not with a complete focus on research domains. The policy framework also sets out very clearly that the articulation options for students must be clear so that you can move seamlessly between these institutions as you wish to further your studies.
Hypothetically speaking, if an institution were to move from being a university to a university college, what happens to the qualifications of the students that are already enrolled in that institution?
Nothing will happen. There will be no detrimental effect because remember, all qualifications are registered on the National Qualifications Framework, and institutions have to be registered and accredited by the Council on Higher Education. So within the qualifications, nothing will happen. The qualifications will stand. We have a very robust and very regulated environment in which our qualification offerings are offered. But this will also allow us to take stronger action against institutions that we refer to as fly-by-nights that are offering unaccredited programs and to hold them to account within this legislative framework.
Yeah, I can imagine institutions that are operating legitimately but don't have resources being worried. Is there support for those bodies to at least be able to meet these minimum requirements?
To become a university under the policy framework is not going to be an easy activity. So you need to have a sustainability plan, you need to do a feasibility study, and really it will take 5 years from when any new university, whether it's public or private, wants to become a university. They will have to first start as a university college, comply with all requirements set out in the policy framework, and they will have to be mentored by a university to obviously capacitate them, ensure that they have the research capabilities before they can be reclassified as a university. So it's going to be a long and arduous program, but it will also allow us to have much stricter quality control mechanisms around our university offerings.
Yeah, I mean, it's another moment of conflicting interests, isn't there? I mean, on the one hand, we actually do need more institutions of higher learning in this country, especially when you consider the demand year in and year out. And on the other, I guess you have to protect the integrity of institutions that are considered universities.
Certainly, but we mustn't, just focus on the universities. It really is about ensuring that we're producing the skills for the country. So, this age-old adage that we speak about, that people would rather be an unemployed lawyer than an employed plumber, really goes a long way in our mindset change. We need to ensure that we have the critical skills that are being produced at the commensurate levels. So for the higher education colleges, really they'll be focusing on nursing, on agriculture, on transport, the skills that really are entry-level positions, but where we need a formal qualification. And the university colleges will be focusing on undergraduate degrees, as we said, some postgraduate, but clearly they wouldn't have to detract from their resources within, from the research agenda and invest their money in that. So for universities, there will be echelons of new knowledge production, making sure that research domains are advanced, and all of these have particular focuses and nuances. So really it is about the credibility of the entire higher education system and the qualifications that we are producing and how that is regulated and implemented.
Where, Dr. Meyer, do you reckon this leaves discussions, debates around the decommodification of education in this country? The kind of debates that in some instances have led to protests in universities and shutdowns.
Well, there's a number of systemic reasons why we have protest action. And as we've seen for some institutions, there has been some questions around the qualifications offerings and whether that is in fact registered with SAQA and on the National Qualifications Framework, and that the CHE has quality assured those programs. So clearly for those, that is a non-negotiable. Our qualifications need to be registered. But what this brings us is really, we have a very proliferated system currently. It brings coherency to the system because there are three clearly defined institutional types, both for public and private institutions, and private providers make up 20% of the higher education market in South Africa. So what each of these will do for our coherency is to ensure that we have clear articulation paths, that we hold institutions to account to perform around the institutional types that they select to be, that they are well-resourced both with public and private money, and that we don't detract from the teaching and learning agenda, which clearly is at the center of advancing our labor economic needs.
Dr. Linda Meyer, thanks very much indeed for your time and helping us make better sense of these proposed changes. Really do appreciate it. Dr. Linda Meyer is with University South Africa.